Welcome back. You're watching Signature Television. So we are switching gears to talk about the environment. I don't know if you know about boropeating. Well, we have an environmentalist who will throw a little light about that and how it has affected our environment. We have on Zoom this morning Dr. Haruna Manu. He is an environmental specialist. Good to have you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
How do you do this morning?
I'm doing good. And you?
We're fabulous. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Haruna.
Thank you for having me on board. Thank you so much. Deeply appreciate.
All right, so just a way of definition and maybe an explanation that would shed a little light about what boropeat is. What is it, and why have we had proliferation of boropeating in the last, I mean, you could say since Nigeria even began?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here this morning. By way of definition, boropeat, or what is normally called, or what is before now called sandbox, is a location where art materials are excavated, transported, and used for construction in another location. Are you with me?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we can hear you.
You can hear me loud and clear.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello? Okay. I said boropeat or sandbox, as it was used to be called, is a location. It's a particular geographical location or a place acquired, and boropeat or art materials are excavated, transported, and used for purpose of construction in another location. Now, due to development, human nature we at all times aspire for development. So these are some of the footprints of development. If you are going to construct roads, houses, any project, linear or non-linear project, you need sand material. Construction particular infrastructure. Much built infrastructure. It could be roads, it could be schools, it could be irrigation schemes, and what have you. That is why we have boropeat. Now, we cannot divorce boropeat from sand mining, because sand mining gives birth to boropeat. Now, let me classify sand mining a bit for the purpose of understanding. Sand mining can take place in the river, what you call river sand mining. Sand mining can take place along coastal lines, what we call coastal sand mining. And we have what we call inland sand mining. Our concern now is the mining of sand that is taking place inland. This particular sand mining gives rise to boropeat. If you are traveling from Kano, for example, to Jigawa, you will count nothing less than 30 to 40 boropeat. So less than 30 meters or less than 20 meters from the main road. That is to say, those boropeat must have probably been used to construct those roads, and now they are abandoned. When you abandon boropeat, there are bound to be challenges, there are bound to be impact. In fact, according to the UN Environment Program report of 2019 and 2022, up to date, globally now, we as humanity, we have not been able to adequately quantify the impact of sand mining on the environment. That's according to the report of 2022 by UNEP. The same report says that sand is the most consumed resource after water. But unfortunately, it is the least regulated. This is true globally, and it is more true in Nigeria, where sand mining that gives rise to proliferation of boropeat is considered as a minor mineral. So if something is a minor, we don't expect any regulations on that. That's what it means by implication. What am I trying to say? Our regulatory frameworks, our regulatory system have taken their eyes off the sand mining industry. Therefore, all the impacts that are accruing due to that are going directly on the environment, directly on the socio-economic environment. That is why I think that report confirmed that up to now there is no adequate knowledge on the quantum of impact sand mining and boro proliferation is bringing to humanity. Are we together?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. I was going to ask, what do you think are the health risks associated with, boro pitting for communities that are nearby?
I didn't get you. Hello?
Dr. Haruna, can you hear me?
Hello, I didn't get you.
I was asking, what health risks do you think that is prevalent by boro pit or caused by boro pits for communities that are close to where these activities happen?
Okay. If I get you correctly, if I understand correctly, you are asking me the health risks.
Yes.
The health risks of boro pit proliferation in Nigeria. In fact, there are so many health risks. One of the health risks is this. According to the recent study, until now, our villages were not known for mosquito and malaria. But because of boro pit proliferation around our villages, now we are having spikes in mosquito and malaria cases. Simply because these boro pits serve as harborage for mosquito to thrive. These boro pits serve as harborage for mosquitoes to thrive. And whenever you have mosquitoes proliferating in a particular environment, invariably, the neighboring communities are bound to have malaria cases. This is one of the health risks. Number two, because of the issue of drowning, children are going to these areas to this boro pit to take their baths, to take the bath, to swim. There are increasing cases of children dying. Children are getting drawn into these boro pits. And there is also increased cases of bilharzia. These bilharzia. I don't know how to describe it. So these are diseases that are related to boro pit. And largely because of the health implication of boro pit proliferation in our communities. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
But I'm just wondering, with all that you have said, why don't we have regulatory framework to guard against some of these activities?
Okay. You are asking about regulatory frameworks. As it is today, there is no specific regulation on boro pit or sand mining in Nigeria. There is none. This is one of the challenges we have. This is one of the challenges that we have as a country, where we have a sector, a very functional and profitable sector, but without adequate, in fact, with zero regulation. And this is true even globally. Because according to the UN Environment Program report of 2022, they categorically mentioned the fact that sand mining, which brings about boro pit proliferation, is one of the least regulated sectors globally. So until we begin to see sand as a resource, we will not be able to address the footprint that sand mining is bringing into our communities and into our environment. This is basically true. We have no regulations on that. In fact, this is one of the reasons why we are embarking on this journey, to see how we are going to bring sanity into the system by way of regulation. We are not saying that development should not continue or we should not develop. No. How do we develop sustainably? How do we develop responsibly? without unnecessary consumption of art materials that we know are not easily replenished. To regenerate soil, it will take you 100 years. But there are other resources that could be used for purpose of development to conserve this. Or if we can control the use of these resources, invariably we are going to manage borrow pit in the long run. And the question is, how do we now handle the already proliferated borrow pit around our area, around in our environment? How do you handle that? Already, let me tell you some of the impact. The impact are so many, ranging from deforestation that exacerbates climate change. There's a recent study, which I'm part of. Also, there's another study in Maiduguri, which a friend is also involved, that shows that these borrow pits are serving as free accommodation for criminals. Free accommodation for criminals. Because they are least regulated, least controlled. Therefore, criminals find that as safe havens. They go there and keep their arms and ammunition. In fact, they call it as, they classify it as a transit route for arms and ammunition. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
So the impact are so multifaceted, ranging from what I've mentioned to even in the north, up north here. It has been discovered that these borrow pits have also contributed to the farmer-herder conflict that we always have around. Because borrow pit, when you acquire borrow pit, you need to clear all the vegetation. What are you doing? You are reducing the grazing land. You are also reducing the available farmland. So at the end of the day, farmers will be complaining of lack of land. Cattle herders will be complaining of lack of grazing land, and there will be conflict in between the two. It has also been confirmed from studies that even our road accidents, sometimes road accidents are caused by this. Whenever a vehicle plunges into this borrow pit, a minor accident could easily turn to a hazard, very fatal accident. So the impacts are multifaceted, my dear listeners. They are multifaceted. Until we bring sanity into the system, we will not be able to understand the whole gamut of impact that sand mining and borrow pit profession is bringing to this country.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, after the borrow pits and all of that, after the excavation of the soil, how do you think, or how is the land being reclaimed after the borrow pits have been exhausted? Because we see sometimes water, on like inside the pits. We have some level of high level of water increasing by day, depending on the season. I'm just wondering how they reclaim the land after this.
Okay, you are asking on how the borrow pit can be reclaimed after excavation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, very good. You see, to be frank with you, there is no way we can completely restore borrow pits, because restoring a borrow pit will invariably means you are going to create other borrow pit to reclaim or to restore another borrow pit. That will form a vicious cycle of borrow pit acquisition, exploitation, and reclamation, and rehabilitation or restoration. It will be a vicious cycle. Therefore, what needs to be advocated is, how do we manage the borrow pit? How do you manage our sand mining industry? Because until we are able to manage and control the approval process, if at all we have any, based on my research, there is no single approval process, because the laws governing borrow pit should be different from the laws governing quarries. I do know for sure that Nigeria has a regulation on quarries, but there is no regulation of borrow pit. And people are always confusing sand mining with quarrying, or borrow pit operations and quarrying operation. These are two different things. The process are different. Even though the principle of reclamation may be the same, may be similar, but the process of operation in borrow pit is quite different from the process of operation in a quarry. So for you to reclaim a borrow pit, you have to put that borrow pit to a particular economic use. By so doing, you'll be able to put a control over the use of that borrow pit for by criminals or other unwanted users. And also by so doing, you will be able to check the expansion of this borrow pit, which are putting our public infrastructure at risk. It has been confirmed, even for World Bank report of, I think, 2020 or 2021, has confirmed that borrow pit expansion has always put public infrastructure to risk of collapse. When you have a borrow pit close to road network, these road networks are there and the borrow pit is there expanding. In the next few years, you see that the borrow pit is encroaching into the road. You understand? So the idea is, how do we now put this borrow pit to more economic use, to be able to control the expansion, to be able to avert the use of this borrow pit by criminals, to be able to avert, even sometimes we even plant trees around this borrow pit to check the effect of climate change and to check the effect of expansion of this borrow pit. So the idea, the basic thing, one, we need to control borrow pit proliferation by way of sand mining regulation. Then how do you now put the existing borrow pit to economic use to be able to control expansion and other unwanted uses?
Okay, so are there alternative materials or no strategies that could reduce the reliance of the borrow pits in construction?
Yes. One, we that's what we call circular economy. How can we recycle construction waste? I have seen that in a construction that was going on along Kaduna-Kano Expressway. Kaduna Zaria Expressway, where the contractor was using the construction waste as base material. They recycle them. That's another way. How do we avoid wastage? That's number one. Number two, there is what we call manufactured sand. Manufactured sand. Sand from building material from crushed sand. We have so many mountains in this country. We have so many hills, so many plateaus that could be used as building material. In fact, they are more. They will tell you crushed stones are more expensive than blocks from that is made of sand. So use of manufactured sand is a very good alternative. Two, use of recycled materials. I saw somewhere where somebody was using plastics for construction. This can be promoted to reduce the reliance of our construction industry on these borrowed materials. Yes.
Okay. But I'm just wondering if there's any successful borrow pit management anywhere in Nigeria that you've seen.
Actually, based on my research, I've not seen any. But there have been attempts. There have been several attempts to manage some of these borrow pits, but successful one, we are yet to see a successfully managed borrow pit. We are yet to see that. But we are always encouraging the construction industry in particular and the government in specific to promote borrow pit management. We are not saying that development should stop. No, but how do we manage the footprint of our development process? Which borrow pit is one of them. So I'm yet to see a successfully managed borrow pit. And this cannot be explained away. There are so many reasons why we are having that. One of them, we don't have regulations, effective regulations. We don't have it. There's no regulation on sand mining and borrow pit proliferation. Out of the 33 regulations in this area, none is addressing borrow pit. So everybody does what he wants as far as the borrow pit is concerned. They excavate, exploit, and abandon the borrow pit with the attendant effect to the environment and to the community. And something I have not mentioned, my dear viewers, I have not mentioned the fact that borrow pit and sand mining proliferation is bringing about the emergence of what we call sand mafia. I don't know whether you've ever heard of that. Sand mafia. Sand mafia is a network of people that have become stupendously rich from sand mining. They can face any government. They can compromise any policy. We have them, from my research, we have these people, even in Nigeria we have them. Even in Kano here we have them. They're very powerful. They have acquired wealth through sand mining because sand mining is the least regulated. They pay the least tax. They undergo least level of control. So they acquire wealth spontaneously without any control. So they have money to challenge anybody. So until we have strong institutions, this sand mafia will continue to ravage communities and ravage our environment for the purpose of making economic gains. So they're here. There's a village here in Kano. I want you to come there and conduct investigation too. It's called TASA. Go and see what sand mining is doing to that community. Go and see what borrow pit proliferation and expansion of this borrow pit or expansion of sand mining from rivers down to the hinterland. Go and see what is bringing, what is causing to that community. What underground water has been polluted. Underground water quality has been degraded. Farmlands have been reduced to nothing. Erosion have taken over everywhere. Deforestation and climate change is now the order of the day. So these are the hard reality of borrow pit proliferation and sand mining in this country. So until we begin to look inward, to develop policies, regulations, empower our institutions to challenge these sand mafias, we are not going to make any headway.
So you talked about these sand mafias. Is it that there is nothing the government is already doing in Kano? You mentioned Kano in particular. So is this something that in particular you want the government to do about it? You know, because when we talk about policies, regulations, we want to know what you think. What policies exactly do you think need to be put in place to regulate these borrow pit issues?
Yeah, very good question. You see, when we talk about regulations, you cannot effectively control a system that is as powerful as that without a regulation. I understand is it NCDC, Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, they have a department responsible for enforcement of this, some of these environmental laws. So this institution need to be empowered, and it needs to be also backed with very strong regulation. We don't have, like, for let me give you an example. There is no any national sand mining policy, as I've always said. No national sand mining policy. Before you acquire a license to mine or to acquire a borrow pit, what are the procedures that one need to follow to acquire a sand mining license, for example? And what are the regulations that, for example, in some countries, you need to submit an EIA for a borrow pit acquisition. But in this country, I've not seen one. I have seen EIAs on quarries, but I've not seen EIA on sand mining. I'm yet to see. Maybe I have not expanded, I have not read it all, but I'm yet to see. But I've seen several EIAs on quarries. Government and people place more emphasis on quarrying, you know, but place less emphasis on sand mining. And sand, as I said earlier, is the second most consumed resource after water, according to UN report, UNEP report of 2019. But it's least regulated. So if a sector like that is not regulated, my dear viewer, what do you expect? Anybody can do anything. Anybody can acquire as much money as you want and then bulldoze their way to achieve any result they want to achieve. Come to TASA and see what is happening. There is a study that I'm doing now in an irrigation scheme. In an irrigation scheme where borrow pit have been acquired to rehabilitate an existing irrigation scheme. But go and see the level of degradation. You see a borrow pit ranging about 7 hectares. The average, they are about 89 as a 2020, 89 borrow pit were used. I don't know what it is now. And without adequate control, in fact, without any control. There can't be any sustainable development without adequate environmental control. That's one thing I want to say for clear. No any sustainable development can be meaningful without adequate sustainable environmental control.
All right. I mean, it's quite interesting insights you have given us on this particular borough pit issue. But I'm just wondering, as somebody who is an environmental enthusiast, do you think that the communities where these borough pitting happen have a role to play in protecting their environment? Because again, these people just, once they are able to find that the sand there is something that they could use, they just jump into it. And do you think that making decisions by community heads and leaders, do you think that they should be brought into some of these decision-making processes in order to be able to check the incidents or the activities of borough pitting?
Yes. You see, that's what we call public engagement. But unfortunately, I repeat, most at times, the community leaders are compromised. Most at times. But community engagement or stakeholder engagement will be a very viable vehicle towards addressing this kind of issues. Yes. If you are going to acquire a land for the purpose of borough pit, community engagement could go a long way in addressing some of this impact. For example, you see some borough pit in the midst of communities, or not too far from communities. If the communities were engaged, properly engaged, they will have objected to that. They said, no, this thing is too close to our houses. What will happen to our health if at the end of the day we have mosquito proliferation in that area? What will happen to our children if they go there to bath? You understand? So sometimes lack of proper community engagement. And most of the times, because the community leaders are grossly compromised. Grossly compromised. We have cases where community leaders even connive with these sand miners to acquire borough pit. And then after utilization, they abandon it because they're giving the stipends. These are a very heavy allegation I'm making here that need to be investigated. Yes, they connive with some of these leaders to acquire borough pit, exploit and abandon this borough pit close to communities. So there are serious issues surrounding borough pit that only when we sit up as a country that we'll be able to address them. Otherwise, our dream of having a sustainable future will be in vain. Let me give you another reason. You see, the 17 SDGs from number 1 to number 17 are all tied to land. And borough pit exploitation and sand mining exploration can easily compromise our dream to achieving these SDGs. If you're talking about hunger, how can you address hunger if you don't have land to cultivate? While borough pit is taking over all the farmlands. How can you address health when we have mosquito breeding grounds around our communities? Come to our urban areas and see what is happening. We are all surrounded by borough pit. Come to Kano and see. From Kano, somebody called me just yesterday from Dutse, this Jigawa state capital, to Kano, a distance of less than 120 kilometers. He was able to count most of them, less than 10 meters away from the road. So you can see the dangers. I told him that's why we have criminals taking over these borough pit as sanctuaries. They can easily go there and hide, and the night they come out and then perpetrate their and go.
Wow.
So
okay.
these are serious issues.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate, just in 1 minute, just tell us how you think borough pitting, affects climate change.
Yeah, borough pit affect climate change in a huge way, because when you acquire a piece of land for the purpose of borough pit excavation, you need to clean and clear. You remove the vegetation cover, you remove the trees, you remove the tough soil. You are degrading the land. Land degradation is an indicator of climate change exacerbation anywhere in the world. So when you expose the land, you degrade the land. What do you achieve? You are reducing the capacity of that land to absorb carbon, or to reduce the capacity of that land for carbon sequestration. So invariably, climate change will exacerbate. So climate change and borough pit exploration are highly connected, especially in developing countries like our own, where borough pit are unregulated boro pit, sand mining is all regulated.
All
So
right.
there's a huge linkage between the two.
All right, Doctor. Thank you so much for your time. We truly appreciate you. It's been one interesting conversation with you regarding borough peating and how it can be prevented and
Thank
how
you so much for having me
important
on board.
community leaders must be involved
Definitely.
in making this happen. Thank you again for your time, sir.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful morning.
All right, we're headed for a short break. When we turn our attention to the economy, and we have a professor in the house. To stay with us.